Here's all the highlights from a very exciting game.
The Newcastle Falcons arrived at Flinders Park just in time for the Mark Bradkey show. The Giants centreman added 8 points in just a couple of minutes, shooting the Tigers 7 points in front midway through the first term. Bradkey was starring at both ends, outreaching Newcastle's Paul Kuiper amongst others in the tussle for rebounds, and still knocking up points at the scoring end. A barrage of threes came in the closing minutes as Simmons, Gaze and Gordon all scored from outside. Melbourne seemed to have endless scoring options and by the first break had cemented a 29-21 first break margin. But the Falcons weren't ready to lay down. A couple of accurate long shots had them back with the Tigers. The two sides were locked, score for score. It was Derek Rucker who eventually broke through, and as he emerged as the leading scorer, he lifted Newcastle to level with Melbourne at 45 each in the last 2 minutes before half-time. The Tigers charged back, and by the half-time hooter had again got control with a 53-47 gap. Opening of the third term, and the Falcons were set to swoop on the lead. The opportunity came through Terry Dozier. 5 quick points and the lead had swung. Newcastle up by 2 and desperate to hang on. And despite some fearsome offensive moves from the home side, the Falcons were managing to pull ahead. Led by a 14-point quarter from Rucker, Newcastle set up a 4-point lead, 80-76 going into the final term. The Falcons were on fire, scoring at every opportunity the Tigers left open. Melbourne shooters, now desperate to match each new score of Derek Rucker's, were feeling the heat. Few shots were missing, even under the immense pressure of the teetering scoreline. 2 minutes to go and the Tigers suddenly burst back level. As the heat went up another notch, the time clock showed the remaining seconds disappearing. It was the ice-cool experience of the Tigers that saw them forge ahead to a hard-fought 4-point victory.
They played well. Derek Rucker played very, very well. He's a very hard man to contain. So they didn't catch us off guard. We were ready for them, but they just played very, very well.
Were you guys a little sleepy tonight? Were you a bit slow getting going, or could you put it down or anything?
No, they just played well, and you've got to give credit to them. They're a tough team, tough organisation, and we can't go out and blow every team away. We've got to work hard and get our wins.
Yeah, it's a rare night that Gaze and Copeland are both pretty quiet, really, but Lennard always takes a little time to settle into a season. Andrew temporarily ended Leroy Logan's long reign as the NBL's top point scorer in that game. Leroy, of course, grabbed the mantle back the following night. Remember, Andrew has played 100 games fewer. Isn't Rucker having a great start to the